Okay, let's sort of talk a little bit now about attribution theory, which is a very pervasive theory actually, and it's found, of course, in a lot of different areas of expertise. Not only sociology, although it is used in sociology, it's also used in social psychology and managerial studies, communication studies, many different things. A basic idea is that people assign causes for their behavior and other people's behavior, and they use these explanations of the different behaviors, their own behavior, somebody else's behavior, and according to that they will behave accordingly. This is according to their successes or failures and things like that. And it obviously has a wide range of applicability. Generally speaking, we can say that there are a simple dichotomy, one might say, that we could start with. There are dispositional causes and situational causes. Now, what does that mean? In other words, a dispositional cause means that there is somebody has a disposition, is something within with the cause of the behavior, the cause of the situation is something within the person, or to be controlled in. It's perceived to be within the control of the participants. Okay. So in other words, if you're talking on an individual level, it's easier to conceptualize. It has to do with the traits or the motivations a person have. A person was not motivated, and therefore he didn't get a job. Okay, so why didn't a person get a job? Because he wasn't motivated. If he wasn't motivated, then he can actually change it. So it's his disposition. He didn't feel like getting up in the morning to go. So why you just change your mood or something like that, or didn't want to put in enough effort. I don't want to get up. I just forget it. I'm lazy today. I'm not going to the job interview, right? I say that I'm too tired and I'm not going to push myself to do it. That would be a dispositional cause. The other reason why a person didn't get a job, there could be situational causes. Okay, so in other words, a situation, and the situation, something which is outside of the control of the participants. So a person didn't get a job. Why didn't he get a job? Because he knows that there's a lousy job market and he's not going to get anything. And the reason why they get a job is even though he went and tries and does, there's no jobs to get. So if there's no jobs to get, people aren't getting jobs. So you can understand that why a person would be not getting jobs. In other words, there's a high unemployment rate today. It hovers around 9%. Why is that happening? Well, the people don't want jobs. They're just, they're too lazy to go and get it. If you really want a job, you can get it. So there. No. Well, that would be a dispositional reason. The reason why there's no jobs is not because the people are lazy. The reason why people don't get a job is not because a person is lazy, but rather there are no jobs to be gotten. The economy is lousy. The government is not doing enough. The industry is not doing enough. Whatever, but it's a pervasive type of situation. So that's one basic dichotomy that one could use, especially in sociology. But this whole idea of attribution theory can be broken down into actually three parts, and it becomes much more useful as we break it down to three parts, because that one idea of where this responsibility goes, where the cause lies, whether it's within or without, whether it's dispositional or situational, that can also be called as the locus of control, which is also a pervasive concept, especially in psychology, social psychology. In other words, where is the control of the action? Where does it come from? Is it from outside the person or inside the person? So let's take a scenario. A scenario being that you go into a party and you see your significant other kissing somebody else. Okay, so you spy a kiss. Is the spied kiss scenario. Okay, so let's talk about the locus of control. For instance, okay, is it well, let's the locus of control in this case, is it, do I have is the locus of control within the person or without the person? Okay, so if it's internal, what we call dispositional. If it's internal, right, locus of control, it could be internal locus of control by her or by me, right? So there's two different possibilities, right? Is she controlling it, or is the situation controlling it, right? Or am I controlling it, or is the situation controlling it? Okay, so let's say it's an internal control, okay? I have a certain amount of control over what situation. In other words, I haven't been good to her lately. So she's acting out, right? But it's I haven't been good to her lately. I have control over that, okay? As against, or she has decided to do that, right? So she has that internal locus of control. As against the external locus of control, or what we called the situational. You know what? I know at this party everybody's been drinking a lot, and like, it's all, what can you do? It's just been, it's probably just what's happening in the party. So what's the difference? Now, obviously, there's a difference on an individual level, and there's a difference on a cultural or sociological level, right? So if it's a negative event, right, an internal locus of control, right, if I'm the one who caused it, then I say, well, I could have stopped it, but I didn't, so I really screwed up. It lowers my self-esteem, okay? Or even can lead to depression. This has been found in the research, although there's obviously, for all of those things, there are a lot of other ways of looking at it, and a lot of other possibilities and factors involved. Okay, but that's the idea of what's one factor in attribution theory, right? Locus of control, which we also call the dispositional as well as the situational. The second possibility is whether the cause is a stable cause or an unstable cause, the stability of what's going on. We want to know if it's a long-term cause or a temporary cause. So what's going on? So in a stable long-term cause means that something's been going on for a long time. Let's talk about the spied kiss scenario. A long-term cause might be that there's a chronic lack of respect, right? She always does that. It's just like, that's the way, it's always, that's the way she's been forever, right? I remember the last time she went out and long-term, stable, internal, right? Or short-term, right? We had that big fight last night and she wants to get back at me. This is a short-term, unstable cause. A short-term, unstable cause, right? So in negative events, a stable situation, especially if it's an external cause but stable, then can lead to hopelessness. Just think about it, right? It's an external cause, right? She's always going to these parties where they're always drinking, and I don't like it, but it's stable. It's been happening over and over and over again. Or it's a short-term situation. Well, it's not going to happen again anyway, so I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, so you have that idea of whether it's going to be stable or not. Okay, a third factor that has to be taken into account is the idea of controllability. Because obviously, if it's controllable, then it'll make a difference. So, for instance, how much can I control this situation? So, if the kiss was because I was neglectful, right? But I feel I can't control it anyway because that's the way I've been, and I'm always, I've been working on this for 35 years, and I'm not going to change, right? So, it's going to have a different effect than if it's going to be even internal, but I feel I can control it, right? And if it's an external situation, right? The reason why she's been kissing that guy is because he's so darn sexy and flirtatious, and she's flirtatious, and you know, it's I have no control over any of these factors. Well, that's going to be a bad scene. And in controllable, when it's controllable, but it doesn't help, it's long term, it can lead to guilt, right? And if it's uncontrollable, and it's something inside of me, then I can be ashamed of it. Okay. In this, there's a idea then of whether a person can be blameless or blamed or responsible. So, and in order for somebody to be responsible, it needs controllability. I can't be responsible for something beyond my control. Okay, so there has to be an attribution of controllability. Someone, for instance, even if I cause an event, if somebody causes the event, but he has no control over it, right? Then he can't be responsible for what's happening, right? So let's say, for instance, you have a group situation, you have your in-group and your out-group, and your in-group wants to feel a lot of power. They cause something big to happen. Now, if it's a good thing, they'll say, well, yeah, and I wanted it to happen, and this is what we do, right? But what happens if it's a negative, right? If you can attribute your group to causing it, but not to have to take the responsibility, that's a very interesting and way of looking at things. So let's take what happened last week, for instance, with the riots in Egypt. And the media started to say, all over the media, they were saying that one of the reasons why it was caused was because of these two American innovations called Facebook and Twitter. And everything was organized through Facebook and Twitter. Okay, so Facebook and Twitter caused this? Well, that's basically what they're saying. But were they in control? No, they couldn't control it, right? So they have a great sense of power. Americans have this power of causing revolutions in the Middle East, okay? Why was that happening? It seemed to be that the media, or the American media, wanted to attribute what was happening to their own power. They didn't look to see that only 20% of the population of Egypt has internet connections at all. When the government cut off all the Twitter and Facebook in the country, the riots grew more powerful. But nonetheless, there was an attribution there. Okay? And the same thing will happen on a societal level. Are we going to attribute this to a stable situation in the country that will happen regardless of whether Mubarak is there or not? It will make a difference of how we deal with it. Will we do this? Will we cause this? Let's say this is caused with internal to Mubarak, or something in the society which is situational. Well, how are we going to deal with it then? Okay, if it's going to get worse or better, it's the question of what are we attributing this unrest in Egypt and Jordan? If you're attributing to an internal situation, internal dispositional situation, because the leader is doing bad things, then maybe you should remove the leader. If it's because there is a social unrest coming from the economic situation and the socio-political and religious situation of the Middle East, which is pervasive and not only in Egypt, then you're going to have to deal with it in a much different fashion. Okay? So that's the way we have to start understanding many of the things which are happening throughout the world and throughout history.